Hey everybody, and welcome to the Deep Dive. We're diving into smart cities today and getting ready for this. I was really surprised by just how much is already happening out there.
It is a hot topic.
It is.
Yeah.
Our main source for this deep dive is a really fascinating essay by Jörg-Owe.
Schneppat's a great resource.
And he really paints this picture of a future that's closer than we think.
Yeah.
We're talking self-driving buses in Barcelona.
Right.
New York City is using sensors to track their trash.
Whoa.
That's pretty mind-blowing. To help us unpack all of this, we've got an expert on urban innovation with us.
Happy to be here.
Welcome. So glad you could join us for this deep dive.
Thanks for having me. It's something I'm really passionate about.
Okay, so let's start with the basics. When we say smart city, what exactly are we talking about?
You know, Jörg-Owe makes a really good point in his essay. It's not just about adding technology to a city.
Right.
It's about using information and communication technologies, ICT as he calls it, to make cities more efficient, yes, but also more sustainable and ultimately better places to live.
That's what really grabbed my attention. Better places to live.
Yeah.
What does that actually look like for people? Schneppat gave us some examples.
He did. Think about things like reduced traffic congestion, because the traffic management systems can respond in real time.
Okay.
Think about cleaner air, because there are sensors constantly monitoring pollution levels.
Wow.
Schneppat even talks about easier ways to get around and access information using connected devices.
That's kind of funny. We all have these things on a personal level with our smartphones.
Right.
But imagine scaling that up to an entire city.
Exactly. It's about taking those principles and applying them to urban design and infrastructure. Think about a city where you never have to circle for a parking spot.
Oh, please.
Because your car communicates with the parking garage and is guided directly to an open space.
Okay, you sold me. Sign me up for that smart city future. But how did all of this get started? Was there a specific moment when somebody was like, let's make cities smart? Or did it evolve over time?
It's interesting to see how this concept has evolved. Schneppat kind of traces it back, and early efforts in the 60s and 80s, as he describes, were more focused on using computers for basic data analysis.
Okay.
It was really around 2005 when tech companies started getting involved that things really started to take off.
Oh, so that's the big shift tech companies get involved.
That was a big factor, but what Schneppat also highlights is this changing focus. It wasn't just about efficiency anymore. Sustainability started to become a much bigger concern.
Okay.
So it's not just making cities work better, it's making them work smarter in a way that considers the environmental impact.
That makes a lot of sense.
Sure.
Okay. But I'm still kind of stuck on what are the nuts and bolts? What are the actual nuts and bolts of making a city smart?
Schneppat gives us 4 core principles: data analytics, feedback, and adaptability.
Okay, let's break those down. Data, that's all the information that a city collects. Everything from traffic flow to energy usage. So then analytics is where things get really interesting, because you're using these sophisticated tools to analyze all that data, to identify patterns, trends, potential problems.
Like having a giant brain that's constantly monitoring the city's vital signs.
That's a great analogy.
And then you have this feedback loop.
Okay.
That's crucial, because you're using those insights to make adjustments, to optimize systems, make the city run more smoothly.
So it's not just collecting data, but using it
Exactly.
to make things better.
To take action.
To take action.
Okay.
And adaptability.
A truly smart city needs to be able to evolve and adapt to new challenges and opportunities. You know, technology is constantly changing. Needs are changing. And a smart city needs to be flexible to keep up.
So it's like a living organism.
Exactly.
It's constantly evolving and adapting to its environment.
Exactly. Now, Schneppat dives into these different components of a smart city: smart buildings, big data, the Internet of Things, and smart transportation.
Let's talk about smart transportation, because that one really caught my eye. Schneppat uses the example of the self-driving buses in Barcelona.
He does. Smart transportation is all about using technology to make getting around safer, more efficient, and more sustainable. And those self-driving buses that Barcelona is investing in,
Yeah.
imagine buses that can navigate traffic, optimize routes in real time, even communicate with each other to prevent accidents.
This sounds like a sci-fi movie.
It does, but it's happening.
It's happening right now.
It's happening right now. And it's a great example of how smart city technologies can have a real impact on people's lives.
It all sounds amazing so far.
Yeah.
But I got to ask, are there downsides? Is there anything that we should be cautious about as cities get smarter?
That's a really important question. And Schnepp does acknowledge that smart cities aren't a perfect solution.
Right.
There are incredible benefits and potential challenges that need to be carefully considered.
So let's talk about the good, the bad, the complicated.
Yeah.
What are some of the biggest advantages that Schneepat highlights?
So one of the most obvious advantages is economic growth. Smart cities attract investment, they create new industries, they generate jobs, and then there's this potential to improve the quality of life for residents.
Yeah, less traffic, cleaner air, easier access to services.
Exactly. And then, of course, Schneepat emphasizes the resource efficiency.
Right.
Using energy and resources more sustainably, reducing waste.
Okay, that's the sunny side of the street.
Yeah.
What about the shadows? What are some of the challenges that Schneepat brought up?
Well, one of the biggest is this technology barrier. Not all cities have the infrastructure or the skilled workforce to be able to implement these complex systems.
That makes sense.
And Schneepat points out that this can create disparities between cities that are able to adopt these technologies and those that get left behind.
And I imagine even if a city can implement the technology, there's still those challenges of making sure it benefits everybody.
Absolutely. Schneepat brings up this issue of the digital divide, where not everyone has equal access to technology or the skills to be able to use it effectively. And then there are the social and economic implications. What happens to jobs that are displaced by automation? How do we ensure that the benefits of smart cities are distributed equitably?
Those are some big questions.
Mm-hmm.
It sounds like building a truly smart city requires a lot more than just cool technology.
Yes.
It requires careful planning, ethical considerations, a focus on social equity.
You're absolutely right. And that's what makes this such a fascinating and complex topic. It's not just about technology, it's about people.
It's about building cities that are not only smart, but also just and humane.
Exactly. And that's what we'll continue to explore as we dive deeper into the world of smart cities.
So we talked about some of the potential downsides of smart cities. But I'm curious about the benefits Schneepat mentions, something called collaborative governance. What does that even mean when we're talking about smart cities?
So collaborative governance is this idea of using technology to create more transparent and participatory systems of government. And Schneepat points out that smart cities are generating this massive amount of data about everything from traffic patterns to energy consumption. And if that data is accessible to citizens, then cities can empower people to be more involved in decision making.
So it's not just about the city being smart, but it's also about giving the citizens the information to make smart decisions about their city.
Yes. It's about giving people the tools and the information they need to be able to understand the challenges facing their city and to contribute to finding solutions. And Schneepat argues that this can lead to more responsive and more effective governance.
Okay, I see how that could work in theory, but how does it work in practice?
Yeah.
Did Schneepat give us any examples of how this is being implemented?
He did. Schneepat talks about how some cities are using online platforms and mobile apps to allow residents to report issues.
Oh, wow.
To offer feedback on proposed projects and even to vote on certain policies.
That's amazing. It's like taking the pulse of the city in real time.
Yeah.
And using that information to make better decisions. But I can also see how that could be challenging.
Yeah.
How do you manage all that input and make sure that it's actually used to make a difference?
Yeah, it's a challenge, and Schneepat acknowledges that there are definitely hurdles to overcome.
Okay.
Particularly with things like ensuring equal access to these platforms and ensuring that the information is presented in a way that's easy to understand.
Right. We need to make sure that everybody benefits from the whole smart city concept.
Yes.
And not just the people who are really tech savvy. So we talked earlier about the digital divide, and I can see how that could be a real concern with something like this.
Absolutely. And, one of the core ethical questions around smart cities that Schneepat points out is who benefits from all of this technology.
Yeah.
And he argues that equity and inclusivity need to be prioritized from the very beginning. Designing systems that are accessible to all residents, regardless of their income or their education or their technical skills.
Yeah, that's a really crucial point. We've talked about New York City. We've talked about Barcelona. What are some other notable cities that Schneepat highlighted?
So Schneepat talks about Songdo in South Korea, which is a really interesting case because it was designed from scratch as a smart city.
A city built from the ground up with smart technology integrated into every aspect.
From its inception.
That's incredible. What kind of lessons can we learn from a place like Songdo?
I think one of the key takeaways, as Schneepat suggests, is the importance of a holistic approach. Songdo really demonstrates that integrating technology into every aspect of the city's design and its planning can lead to a truly interconnected and efficient urban environment.
So it's not just about having the cool gadgets.
Right.
It's about thinking systematically about how technology can improve the city's functionality and its sustainability.
Exactly. And it's recognizing that technology is only one part of building a successful smart city.
Okay.
Schneeplatt also emphasizes the importance of engaging citizens, fostering collaboration, addressing those ethical considerations.
It's that balance where technology enhances human connection and well-being and doesn't replace it.
Right. Building a smart city isn't just about technical expertise.
Yeah.
It's also about human ingenuity, empathy, and a shared vision for the future.
Yeah.
You know, as we look at these different approaches, it's striking how much variety there is in this smart city landscape.
There's no one-size-fits-all?
There's no one-size-fits-all solution.
Each city has its own set of challenges and opportunities.
Absolutely. And that's one of the most exciting aspects of this whole field, as Schneeplatt points out. You know, what works in Singapore might not work in Stockholm.
Right.
What's successful in Barcelona might not be appropriate for Boston.
Each city has its own individual needs and its own aspirations.
Right.
So adaptability and customization are key.
Precisely. Schneeplatt emphasizes it's not about just copying what others are doing. It's about learning from their experiences, adapting those lessons to your own context, and finding solutions that work for your city's specific circumstances.
It's like a giant urban experiment.
It is.
With each city trying different things and learning from each other's successes and failures. It's really exciting to see how this global experiment is unfolding. But I am curious to know what Schneeplatt says about where we're headed next.
Yeah.
What does he predict for the future of smart cities?
That's a great question. The future of smart cities is full of possibilities, and Schneeplatt explores several emerging trends that will likely shape this next wave of smart city development.
So we're just talking about the future of smart cities and all these exciting possibilities. What does Jörg-Owe Schneeplatt see as the big trends that are going to be shaping that next wave of development?
Well, he really sees technology as continuing to be central. But it's not just about the newest gadgets.
Yeah.
It's about how we use that technology to really address some of the biggest needs that we have for both people and the planet in a way that's truly transformative.
Okay, so we're moving beyond shiny object syndrome, and we're really focusing on those solutions that are both innovative, but that also have real impact. What are some of the specific technological advancements that he thinks are going to be game changers?
Well, he talks about this growing convergence of technologies like the Internet of Things, artificial intelligence, big data.
Yeah.
And as these become more sophisticated and interconnected, Schneeplatt suggests that it's going to unlock new levels of efficiency and sustainability and responsiveness in cities.
So imagine a city where buildings can communicate with each other. Traffic lights can adjust in real time to traffic flow. Waste management systems optimize their routes based on actual need.
Exactly. And he also highlights the growing importance of edge computing, which is this idea of processing data closer to the source so you can reduce delays and enable faster, more efficient responses to those real-time events.
Okay, so in a city where things are happening all the time,
Yes.
every millisecond counts.
Yes.
But we're talking about all this amazing technology. I can't help but think about the human element. What does Schneeplatt have to say about the role of citizens in this future of smart cities?
Well, he's very clear that citizen engagement is absolutely crucial.
Okay,
And he argues that smart cities should be designed not just for people, but with people.
I like that.
Yeah, Schneeplatt envisions a future where citizens are really actively involved in shaping their environment, providing feedback, contributing ideas, working alongside city planners and policymakers to really co-create solutions.
So we're not turning cities into giant automated machines.
Right.
We're actually empowering citizens to help shape their cities. I love that vision. How do we make that kind of participatory urbanism a reality?
Well, Schneeplatt suggests that cities need to invest in digital literacy and foster a culture of collaboration and open communication.
Okay.
And a big part of that is transparency and accountability in how technology is being used. Really ensuring that it's serving that common good.
So it sounds like building a truly smart city requires more than just technical expertise. It also requires that understanding of people and social dynamics and really how to use this technology ethically.
Yeah, you're right. And I think it also requires that willingness to experiment, to learn from those mistakes, and to constantly adapt to the new challenges and opportunities that come up. That's what being smart really means, right?
Yeah.
That ability to learn and adapt and grow.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So as we're kind of wrapping up our deep dive into the world of smart cities, what are some of those key takeaways that you want our listeners to think about? What's that big picture message that you hope they'll take away from this deep dive?
I think that the biggest message from Jörg-Owe essay is that smart cities aren't a destination.
Right.
It's a journey.
It's a process.
It's an ongoing process of exploration and innovation and collaboration. And it really requires us to be both visionary and practical, tech-savvy and ethically aware.
It's not about achieving some kind of perfect urban ideal.
Right.
But it's about continuously working to create cities that are more sustainable, more equitable, and just more livable for everyone.
Exactly. And Shnepat leaves us with a really thought-provoking question.
Yep.
If you could design a smart city feature, what would it be and why? What problem would it solve? And how would it make life better for the people who live there?
That's a great question. It really challenges us to think creatively and critically about how we can use technology to shape those cities of the future.
And it reminds us that that future isn't predetermined.
Right.
It's something that we create together through our choices, our actions, and our collective imagination.
Thank you so much for guiding us through this deep dive into the world of smart cities. It's been fascinating. To our listeners, thank you so much for joining us on the deep dive. We'll catch you next time.